Go.
All right. Good morning. First, I'll ask a question. During what war were the most Americans killed? The obvious answer, because we're doing that topic, is the Civil War. But if we hadn't been covering that topic, people would have said like Vietnam or one of the world wars. No, it's Americans killing Americans. So the Civil War fought between 1861 and 1865. And a lot of these people were even family members fighting on opposing sides. They were generals who'd gone to West Point together, now across the battlefield from each other. The North had many advantages in this war, and we've kind of talked about those before. Much larger population in the North. They have industry. Remember, the North is where the industry is because of the good rivers and whatnot. The South has industry, but not nearly the abundance that the North does. So, industry, they can produce war goods, clothing, weapons, whatever. Huge advantage. North has greater political leadership in Lincoln, especially. You'll see momentarily. The South, though, has better war leaders, generals. Naval superiority allowed the North to blockade southern ports. So remember the trade deal they had going with England, cotton, clothing, whatever. The North could block those ports. The South had certain advantages as well. Really up until 1863, all the battles were in the South. They're fighting on their home soil. When you're defending your home soil, you're going to fight a lot harder than if you're attacking. It's easier to defend than attack. I'll make another correlation with Vietnam and Korea. When we fight there, we don't know the land. It's a huge advantage to the Koreans and the Vietnamese. A great disadvantage for us. They're better prepared for war. They were ready for this. They wanted it. They saw it coming. They hate the national government. They feel it's northern dominated and that it favors the North. So they're ready to go. Excellent military leadership. People like Robert E. Lee. Great Southern general, beloved by his men. Made some mistakes at Gettysburg, and people like Stonewall Jackson. Higher morale. They're fighting for a cause, they're fighting for their livelihood. The Northerners are going to take away their way of life, and gives them a reason to fight. We don't really, I'm not going to cover the battles or in depth or anything like that. You're not going to be asked about that on a read. It's mostly cause and effect like other wars. I will say that, like the first battle was fought at a place called Bull Run, and nobody knew the severity of what war was going to be like. The wealthy Southerners went out to watch it like it was a baseball game, went out, and the women in their nice dresses and their picnic baskets and blankets like they were going to watch an event, and ended up running for their lives. Civil liberties in war suffered. Here's another one that'll be a theme throughout as we go, and you guys have seen it already somewhat. During war, people's civil liberties do become limited. Freedom of speech becomes limited. I told you about Lincoln. He was taking Southern sympathizers in Maryland and putting them in jail, suspending habeas corpus, meaning he didn't allow them to appear in front of a judge or anything. They were just put there. Like I just said, we'll see when we get to World War I, people that were actually speaking out against the war got in trouble. And again, we'll go in more depth with that hopefully later. Turning points of the war. At first, the South was winning almost everything. Again, again, they're fighting in the South, they have better military leadership. Northern generals are making terrible mistakes. They're winning, but as they start to proceed north, things start to change a little bit. Antietam, Maryland, the North actually slowed down and even stopped the Southern advance, which made England and France decide to stay out of the war. They were considering entering and helping the South, but this changed their minds. Antietam was the bloodiest single day of the Civil War. Many killed. These, especially Gettysburg, were the main turning points. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, not all that far from here, and Vicksburg, Mississippi. Huge victories for the Union, thousands killed from each side. Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle, not a single day, but it was a 3-day battle. Very hot, July of 1863. Except Robert E. Lee made some awful mistakes. Things like Pickett's charge. He moved his men across a wide open field right into the line of fire, and for what reason I don't know. But if the South had taken Gettysburg, they probably would have won the war. They would have had a clear path to Washington, D.C., and it probably would have been over. But so this turned the advantage to the North. Vicksburg was huge because it gave the North control of the Mississippi River. Once Ulysses S. Grant became general in charge of all Union forces, that was a turning point too. Great military leader, but we'll talk more about him and other things later. Other things about him. He did become president too. Wasn't so good as a president. April 2nd of 1865, the Union captured the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia, and basically it was over. So in another week, Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, and the war was over. The North won. The South was devastated economically, mentally, etc. Lincoln's leadership during the war was tremendous. Many reasons. He was committed to saving the Union and uniting the U.S. Now, I should have said more about this earlier. Thing to know, because they could ask this other regions. Lincoln's main goal in fighting the Civil War was not to end slavery. It was to preserve the Union, bring it back together. Lincoln didn't like slavery, but he kind of accepted it. One of his statements was, if I could bring the Union back together and slavery remained, okay, so be it. Or if slavery ends, so be it too. He wanted to bring the country together. The Emancipation Proclamation, to emancipate is to free, was a statement Lincoln made in 1863 that declared slaves in the Confederate States, the Southern states, were free. Now, did the South automatically say, okay, they're free? No. But it gave a statement, it sent a message to the slaves that if the North won, they were going to be free, and it gave them reason to fight against the South. So that's what I just said. If the North won, slavery would be abolished everywhere. Another speech, one of the most famous speeches ever, the Gettysburg Address, 7 years ago. Basically, again, explained why the war was being fought and gave more reason to fight. The effects of the war. The South was devastated economically. I mean, these huge plantations have been destroyed, burned. Sherman's marched through Atlanta, burned Atlanta, and they're destroyed mentally too. They never thought they would lose. Slavery was abolished, the Union was preserved, and it's now clear that under a federal system, national laws were supreme. Another thing I should know, type of question I used to see every year on the regions, not so much in recent years, dealing with the Civil War was about what happened to the power of the federal government, the national government. Well, as we just saw, the national government became stronger because of the Civil War, Lincoln, etc. The South, they want to go back to the system under the Articles where states have rights, or the states have the most power. And so that notion really kind of, it doesn't disappear, but it's not going to take any priority anymore. Okay, now quickly, I do have a little treat for you. If any of you are going through withdrawal, we have something to show you here.
Okay, I know these are strange times, but why would you call police on a family of ducks? Well, the reason was that they were in a dangerous part of town, one with people and traffic, and not a lot of good places to roost. So a police officer in Lakeland, Florida appeared on the scene to make sure they were all right, and then escort them to a nearby lake where they could get back to being ducks. The police say there's always something to smile about. And to keep you smiling or groaning, we would never duck out on the chance to try to quack you up with some foul-sounding duck puns. Because whether you're meander into them thinking they're just ducky, or if you find them really annoying, I happen to think that they can help with almost any malady. And I'll send you my bill. I'm Carl Azus. Last stop today is in Saratoga Springs, Utah. We